ESPN just dropped their full rankings of every NFL roster heading into the season, and man, Cowboys Nation is going to have some strong opinions on this one. You might think Dallas would land somewhere around the middle of the pack, maybe top 10 if you're optimistic, but nope, according to this list. The Cowboys don't even crack the top 16. In fact, they find themselves sitting at number 18. That's right, 18th in the league. They're ranked behind the Arizona Cardinals and just ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers for a team that's supposed to be contending. That's a pretty humbling placement. Now sure, they're still ahead of the Giants, which some fans might take as a small win. But let's be real, that's not exactly a high bar to clear. Now, part of this ranking came down to positional strengths and weaknesses, and according to ESPN, the biggest strength of this Cowboys roster heading into the season is the wide receiver group. That might raise a few eyebrows considering the conversations that were happening right after the draft. Back then, people were questioning the depth behind CeeDee Lamb. But once George Pickens was brought into the fold, everything shifted suddenly. The Cowboys went from having one elite receiver to a pretty respectable group overall. Mike Clay, who handles a lot of fantasy coverage over at ESPN, broke it down and made a solid case. He pointed out that CeeDee Lamb is coming off his third straight 100-yard season and has been leading the league in receptions since 2022. He's top 5 in receiving yards and touchdowns, and here's the kicker, he's only 26 years old. That's a franchise cornerstone right there. Then you bring in George Pickens, a guy who's had to deal with some pretty shaky quarterback situations in Pittsburgh, but still managed to produce over 800 yards in each of his first 3 seasons. And now that he's in Dallas, playing with a more stable offense and hopefully a better system, there's a real shot he could reach that next level. Behind those two, you've got Jalen Tolbert, who now slides into a more natural role as the number 3 receiver, which suits his skill set way better. He doesn't have to play out of position or try to punch above his weight class. Then there's Cavante Turpin, who gives you gadget play speed and some special teams value, and Jonathan Mingo adds even more depth. With Mingo in the mix, suddenly you've got a wide receiver 5 who could start on a few other teams. That kind of depth was unimaginable last season. This room looks and feels completely different with Pickens in it. Last year, people were asking if Tolbert could even be a number 2. Now he gets to be a comfortable 3. Turpin doesn't have to stretch into a bigger role than he's ready for. And Mingo gives you flexibility. When you stack this group up against others in the league, it's not hard to see why ESPN labeled it the strongest unit on the roster. Still, I know some fans might want to argue that maybe the offensive line or even the edge rushers could be considered stronger, depending on how things shake out during camp. But at this moment, wide receiver is clearly where the front office has made the biggest leap forward. On the flip side, though, ESPN didn't hold back when it came to pointing out the team's weakest link, and yeah, it's the running back group. That might not be a shock if you've been following the offseason moves, but it's still a concern. They let Rico Dowdle walk and brought in Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and a rookie named Jaden Blue. Now, Williams has some serious potential, no doubt about that. But he's also coming off a torn ACL from back in 2022. Since that injury, his efficiency has taken a hit. Miles Sanders didn't exactly light it up in Carolina either, though he did show some flashes in the final week of the season with over 100 total yards and a couple of scores. Still, relying on one good week as a sign of things to come is a bit of a gamble. Jaden Blue is an intriguing prospect, and there's definitely some excitement around what he might bring. But he's still a 5th-round rookie. Tempering expectations is important here. You never want to place too much pressure on a rookie right out of the gate, especially in a position group that's already under scrutiny. The potential is there, but there's also a lot of uncertainty, and that's why ESPN was quick to label this group the weak point. It's not just about the individual talent, it's about the overall stability and production. You've got the veterans trying to bounce back, and a rookie trying to prove himself. That's a pretty volatile setup heading into the season. Now, if there's one area of the roster that could change everything, it's the offensive line. ESPN pointed to the right side of the line as the biggest X factor, and that makes a lot of sense. In fact, you could make the case that the entire offensive line is the most critical variable on this team. If the line plays well, it takes pressure off the quarterback, opens up running lanes, and maximizes the impact of your strongest unit, the receivers. Seth Walder over at ESPN focused on Tyler Booker and Terrence Steele, saying that if both guys can even be average in pass protection, then this line has a chance to surprise some people. That's a big if, but not out of the question. Add in Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, and Tyler Smith, and you've got a line filled with youth, upside, and questions. Only one of those guys has gotten paid. The rest are still on rookie deals. One is a first-year player, and two are entering just their second season. There's talent here. But the chemistry, consistency, and health all have to align. If they do, the offense as a whole could exceed expectations in a major way. But that's not something anyone can predict with confidence in late July. It's a gamble. Plain and simple, and that's why this unit ends up being both a source of hope and concern. The potential is sky high, but so is the risk. Switching to the defensive side, there was one surprising name listed among the projected starters, Jack Sanborn. That's right, Sanborn, who followed defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus from Chicago, is expected to get playing time early in the year while DeMarvion Overshown recovers from the knee injury he suffered last December. Sanborn isn't a guy who's going to pile up flashy stats, but he's reliable against both the run and the pass as of now. He's been working ahead of Malik Jefferson in nickel packages, lining up next to Kenneth Murray, who was brought in via trade. That might shift once Overshown is back, hopefully by November, but for now, Sanborn looks like a key piece early in the season. And when you look at how ESPN built out the projected starting lineup, there weren't many surprises at quarterback or wide receiver. Dak Prescott is obviously the guy under center, no debate there. At running back, they listed both Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue, which is interesting. That suggests they see Blue as a potential third down or change of pace option right away. He might be a fifth rounder, but the coaching staff clearly wants to see what he can do in space. Wide receiver is exactly what you'd expect. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jalen Tolbert as your top three, with Turpin sprinkled in for specific packages. That's your core group. Along the offensive line, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, and Terrence Steele are penciled in as starters. There's still some uncertainty around the depth behind them, and that could become a big storyline during training camp. Defensively, MICAH Parsons headlines the group, joined by Osa Odiazua and Mozzie Smith up front. Marshawn Kneeland is listed as the other edge rusher opposite Parsons. Now, that's a spot where things could get complicated. Kneeland is considered a better run defender than Dante Fowler or Donovan Ezraku. But defining a starter on the edge can be tricky. Is it the guy who takes the first snap? Or is it the player with the most reps over the course of the game? Fowler is more experienced, higher paid, and still very much in the mix. Ezraku is expected to be a key rotational piece, and let's not forget about Sam Williams, who can be disruptive when he's on his game. It's going to be a heavy rotation, no question. And the final depth chart could depend on matchups week to week. At linebacker, things are still fluid. Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn are the current top two, but that could change depending on Overshown's recovery. Malik Jefferson is getting some reps, but as of now, he looks like linebacker 3. The coaching staff brought in Sanborn for a reason, and they targeted Murray in a trade, which says a lot about what they want at the position. Damone Clark and Shamar James are still in the picture too, but their roles remain to be seen. This is one of those spots that will probably look very different in week 1 compared to what it looks like right now. And finally, the secondary. ESPN listed Trevon Diggs as a starting corner, but honestly, it would have been more interesting if they'd left him off and forced the question, who's the other starter opposite Darren Bland? Kyle Elam could be that guy, but Savion Redwell is also in the mix if he's healthy. Then there's Israel Mukuamu and even rookie Kalen Carson. Though Carson got badly burned by CD during camp, that position battle might come down to who can stay healthy and who shows up once the pads come on. At safety, no real surprises. Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson were listed as the starters, and that feels like the right call for now. Marquise Bell and Wanya Thomas might push for more time, but the starting duo seems set heading into August. Looking ahead, this Cowboys roster is definitely one of those teams where a few key questions will decide whether they're in playoff contention or still stuck in the middle of the pack. You've got some promising building blocks, but also a lot of moving parts that need to come together at just the right time. If the offensive line can gel, if the running backs can at least be serviceable, and if the defense, especially the pass rush and secondary, can maintain health and consistency, then this team could surprise a lot of people, but none of that is a given. One of the more intriguing storylines will be how the running back situation develops during training camp and preseason games. With Rico Dowdle out of the picture, the Cowboys leaned into bringing in Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, both of whom have the talent to be difference makers, but have had struggles staying consistent or fully healthy in recent years. Williams has shown flashes of brilliance, especially before that ACL tear. But the question remains, can he regain that form? And Sanders, while productive at times, hasn't been a dynamic force. Adding to that mix is rookie Jaden Blue, who could carve out a niche as a third down back or change of pace option. But expecting a fifth-round rookie to be a major contributor right away is optimistic. So patience will be key here. The running back room will likely remain a point of vulnerability unless some of those players surprise the coaching staff. If the offensive line can open up holes and keep Prescott clean, that could ease some pressure on the backs and allow them to be more effective. But Dallas definitely downgraded at this position compared to last season. The jury is still out on whether that will cost them wins, but it's certainly a concern heading into the year. On the offensive line, the biggest X factor remains the right side with Tyler Booker and Terrence Steele. Both are still relatively young and unproven as starters, and their ability to protect Prescott's blind side and open running lanes will heavily influence the offense's efficiency. If they can be at least average pass protectors, the Cowboys might have one of the better offensive lines in the league. If not, it could get ugly fast. This group's success or failure will be one of the biggest stories of the season, especially given that only one lineman, Tyler Guyton, has a veteran contract, while the rest are still on rookie deals. The blend of youth and inexperience brings upside but also risk. Cooper Beebe and Tyler Smith at left guard and center, respectively, have shown promise in limited time, and the hope is that continuity and coaching can push them to the next level. Tyler Guyton's return from injury will also be critical in stabilizing the line. This line could be a huge strength or a glaring weakness depending on health, development, and chemistry. Defensively, there's plenty to watch. MICAH Parsons remains the centerpiece and arguably the most dynamic player on the roster. His ability to rush the passer, stop the run, and drop back in coverage makes him a matchup nightmare. Alongside him, Osa Odiazua and Mozzie Smith have been solid contributors, with both players bringing power and athleticism to the defensive front. Marshawn Nealon's role opposite Parsons might not be fully defined just yet, but his skill as a run defender makes him valuable, even if he doesn't always rack up sacks or flashy stats. The rotation on the edge will be something to monitor as well, with Dante Fowler and Donovan Ezraku competing for snaps and impact plays. Sam Williams is another player who could factor in, especially in certain packages. This edge rotation is likely to be a committee approach rather than one clear-cut starter. Linebacker is another spot filled with intrigue. The addition of Jack Sanborn, who follows defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus from Chicago, and the trade for Kenneth Murray, signal a shift in how Dallas wants to build its linebacker cores. Sanborn is known for his reliability and coverage skills, which complement Murray's physicality and versatility. Overshown's return will shake things up, but his injury history is a concern. Malik Jefferson and the younger players like Damone Clark and Shamar James add depth, but they're likely behind the starters for now. This group's cohesion and ability to execute the defensive game plan will be pivotal for the unit's success. The secondary might be the biggest mystery of all. Trevin Diggs is a proven playmaker, but who lines up opposite him is still a question mark. ESPN listed Darren Bland, but with Kyer Elam, Savion Redwell, Israel Mukuamu, and even rookie Kalen Carson in the mix, the battle is wide open. Health will play a big role here, and whoever emerges as the other starting corner will have a tall task ahead. In covering the opposing team's top receivers, the safety duo of Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson seems set for now, but even there, Marquise Bell and Wanya Thomas could push for more playing time. The secondary's ability to limit big plays and create turnovers could swing the momentum in tight games. It's worth noting that depth across the roster is a common theme here. Dallas has talent in starting spots, but many backups are young or unproven. Injuries or underperformance could expose this lack of depth and test the coaching staff's ability to adapt. The draft and off-season acquisitions will be judged not just by the starters they produce, but by the bench strength they bring. Looking at the bigger picture, ESPN's ranking at number 18 reflects the balance of potential and risk on this Cowboys team. The roster has standout players at wide receiver and linebacker, a franchise quarterback in Dak Prescott, and a defensive star in Parsons. But the uncertainties at running back, offensive line, and secondary create vulnerabilities. The team's Success may come down to how well the younger players develop and how quickly the coaching staff can mold this roster into a cohesive unit for Cowboys fans. This season feels like it could go a few different ways. If everything clicks, this could be a playoff team that makes some noise. If the pieces don't fall into place, they might be looking at another middling finish in the NFC East. The division itself is competitive, with the Eagles currently holding a lead, making it tough for Dallas to catch up. However, beating the Giants and the Commanders is an important goal to maintain divisional pride and position. Subscription-wise, if you want to keep up with all the latest Cowboys content, including daily videos breaking down the roster, training camp updates, and game analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Staying connected through this season will give you a front row seat to all the twists and turns. The conversations around this team will be intense, and having access to consistent content will keep you in the loop. There's also some cool gear out there, like the Cowboys hoodie that recently went on sale, originally priced at $55, but now down to just $33. It's perfect for the fall. Whether you're at the game or just showing your support around town, you can find the link to grab one in the comments and description, so definitely check that out. As training camp progresses and the preseason unfolds, we'll get a clearer picture of how this roster shapes up. The battle for starting spots will intensify, rookies will have their moments to shine, and veterans will try to prove they still have plenty left in the tank. Key injuries, player development, and coaching adjustments will all factor into how the Cowboys perform when the regular season kicks off. In the meantime, keep an eye on the wide receiver room. This is the strength everyone's talking about, and it could very well be the unit that carries the offense when the going gets tough. The running back group deserves some close scrutiny as well, especially how Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue fit into the scheme and how effectively they can contribute. The offensive line is the linchpin. It will dictate the success of both the run game and the passing attack, and it's where the biggest question marks remain. Defensively, the focus will be on Parsons continuing to wreak havoc and the supporting cast stepping up around him. The linebacker core's health and performance, the edge rush rotation, and the cornerback battles will all be crucial. The secondary could become a strength if the young players develop quickly, but it could also be a weakness if injuries or inconsistent play take hold. All in all, this Cowboys roster has a lot of intriguing storylines heading into the new NFL season. There's potential here to be an exciting, dynamic team, but there's also risk and uncertainty. The coming weeks and months will tell us a lot about whether this team can make a run, or if they'll need more pieces to truly contend. For now, Cowboys Nation has plenty to talk about, debate, and most importantly, hope for as the season draws nearer. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Could MICAH Parsons be carving out a legacy among the NFL's all-time great defenders? The rumor mill is buzzing after a recent comment by none other than Tom Brady, the 7-time Super Bowl champion and undisputed legend of the game, speaking during a podcast appearance earlier this week. Brady didn't mince words. MICAH Parsons of the Cowboys is one of the top 3 defenders I've ever seen. That declaration, bold as it sounds, has sent waves across the league and reignited debates among fans, pundits, and former players alike. Of course, Brady is known for his calculated language and reserved praise. He's not one to throw out compliments lightly. So when a player of his stature places Parsons in such elite company, it sparks legitimate curiosity. Is Brady seeing something the rest of us should pay closer attention to? MICAH Parsons has certainly dazzled since entering the NFL, becoming a cornerstone of the Dallas Cowboys defense with a rare blend of speed, instincts, and explosiveness that has drawn comparisons to greats like Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis. Still, some believe Brady's comment might be more than just admiration. It could be part of a deeper narrative. Is this the GOAT signaling the rise of a new era of defensive dominance? Or could it be a subtle nudge at teams and media to give defensive players the same spotlight, usually reserved for quarterbacks? Others whisper about Brady's potential future as a team owner or front office executive, perhaps laying breadcrumbs and building relationships with current stars. For now, it's all speculation. But that's exactly what fuels the NFL's offseason rumor machine. One thing's for sure, MICAH Parsons has officially earned the respect of a legend, and when Tom Brady speaks, the league listens. Whether this is just high praise or a hint at something bigger to come, The buzz around Parsons isn't going away anytime soon. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.